Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Vanessa, also known as Dr. B. Today, I thought that I would show you guys my January wrap up. Now, it is a bit late, yes. We are at the end of February, but I still thought that it would be a good idea to tell you my thoughts and my opinions on these books because I did read quite a few really good books in the month of January. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna just talk to you about these books in the order that I read them and finished them. So, unfortunately, I did start off the year with a crappy book. The movie was actually better. So I read Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. I'm just gonna read you my Goodreads rating. So I gave it a 2-star and I said, honestly, I would just leave this book behind. The idea is there, but the story is lacking. It felt like a bunch of fancy words on paper and the story felt incomplete. Like, was this a draft? So, unfortunately, the first book of the year was a flop, but that's okay. Then I read a little novella, short 20-page book called 2 Scoops of Hellfire by Kimberly Lemming. I gave this 3 stars. What can you really do in 20 pages? But overall, it was very enjoyable. It was a novella. I said it was short and kinky. I enjoyed reading this short erotica between a demon and a human, and that's just what it was. Very cute. No real substance. You get kind of everything packed into this little, 20-page book or so, but overall, not a bad book. The next book I read, and I was just kind of going on with like short books here for some reason, but I was just really trying to read stuff that I knew had been on my shelves for a while that I really just wanted to get to. So I read The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and I gave this 4 stars. Now it is considered a graphic novel, so you got very much like pictures and words here. This was very cute. It was a brilliant book, all about friendship, and it asked some of life's most important questions. It's all about valuing yourself and knowing that what you have to offer is enough. It's about growing up and ultimately striving to be a kind person. So definitely recommend. It's not just a kid's book, but I definitely recommend this if you're interested in just reading something cute. I definitely think like you could read it to a kid. It's nothing like, there's nothing like with adult themes or anything, but it's really just teaching people to be kind and, we're all gonna grow up eventually, but cute book. Then we have the book that broke the internet, Icebreaker. Well, really, it just broke some friendships. So I happen to be someone who really enjoyed this book. I did give this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed the little bits of spice, and there was plot in this book. I will say that these characters were supposed to be in college, and one of the things I remember thinking is, when I was in college, I don't think I had the maturity that they did in this one. Like, their communication was a little bit unrealistic in my opinion, but I mean, I liked it. I'm not gonna complain about having good communication, but it wasn't probably realistic for today's day and age, like college student. And then the other problem that people have with this book is that it can be listed as like a sports romance or hockey romance, and it's not really a hockey romance. Like, you're not getting into the game of hockey. Honestly, if anything, you're getting more into ice skating, and you're following people who are on the hockey team, but you're not really talking about any hockey, really. But this book was overall well written and enjoyable. I will say there's some trigger warnings, so if there's things like you have triggers for maybe eating disorders or any sorts of like body kind of issues or concerns, just check yourself, because this one does talk a little bit about that from the girl's perspective. Her name is Stassi or Anastasia or whatever. So good book overall, in my opinion. I know some people think it's terrible, but I enjoyed it. I finally got around to reading Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh, And this series, oh my goodness, Johnny and Shannon have my heart. Like, I freaking love them. They're the cutest, like, couple I think I've ever read about. I love these guys so much. This one I gave 5 stars, so this was technically my first 5-star of the year. The writing continued to be phenomenal. I felt the emotion from every character, and I'm 100% going to be finishing the rest of the series, so I have some of them back there. But I really, really enjoyed this. And I know that the next couple of books are about some different characters that were mentioned in here. But like overall, just Johnny and Shannon are so cute. Again, I would say check trigger warnings if you are someone who has children who want to read this. I would be mindful because I think this is actually listed as YA because the students or the kids in this book, the characters, are in high school. They're in Ireland, so whatever their version of high school is. And I think that's the only reason why it's listed as YA. But there are a lot of mature topics. So, just a warning, if you're trying to let your teenagers read this, that you may want to check it out yourself, or you may want to check the content warnings. But this is a banger of a book, and I freaking love The Boys of Tommen. In the middle of January, we also had winterween go on, and so a couple of these books were for winterween prompts. So I did read A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This one I ended up giving 4 stars. I really enjoyed the banter in this book. It had a little bit more spice than I thought it would, but I'm not complaining. And it was overall enjoyable. I definitely appreciated reading this witchy book during winterween because the whole theme of this year was like witchy winterween. So shout out to Gabby Reads for hosting winterween and bringing a bunch of bookish people together. Fun fact, I met one of my besties, Briana, through Summerween, which is just like the summer version of winterween. So I forever will have, like, Gabby, forever have a space in my heart because your whole like readathon, your whole reading challenge brought me and my besties together. Then I finally finished this book in January. I did start this, I think, in December. I actually started this in November when my library hold became available for the audiobook. And I had about like 96 pages till I was done, and like I never finished it. But with the show coming out and me having a couple free months to watch Apple TV because I got a new iPhone, I was like, okay, I need to finish this. So I ended up getting the audio again finally and finished it off because I like wanted to finish the format the way I started it. But I ended up giving this 5 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. I know some people do not like this book, but it did win some like good awards and stuff like that for being one of the best books of the year. This one is simply phenomenal in my opinion. It really highlights the struggles of being a woman, especially in the 1960s, and being a working mom, a single working mom. But it, quite frankly, is still kind of an issue in 2024, like some of the unfairness, I guess, that goes on between like the expectations people have for working mothers and just like women in the work field. This book overall does have some triggers that you want to check out. There are some mentions of SA that you want to just make sure that you kind of, prepare yourself for. It doesn't go in depth, but it is a trigger. A lot of people don't like the main character because she kind of comes across as like rude. However, with my like psychologist brain, I was like, she kind of seems autistic with the way that she kind of disregards social, like societal norms and like social conventions. Not to say that every person with autism presents the way that she does. Bonnie Garmis didn't even say that she had autism, but it was just where my mind went. That was kind of like the picture that I was seeing. So Don't come for me. I don't know. She could not have autism, but I really enjoyed this book. And if you were interested in reading it, you don't have to know anything about chemistry, but it is a very, very good book that I absolutely loved. All right, we're still going here. I read a lot in January. Then I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is the first book in the Shepherd King series. It's just a duology. I actually finished the second one this morning, but you'll have to wait till February wrap up to find out what I think about it. Anyways, so I said at first that I had no idea what was going on. I was very confused about who this nightmare in her head was. I didn't really understand it, unfortunately, but as I continued on, about halfway, I would say, things started to make a little bit more sense. We get more into the magic system of this world, where basically they have these province cards that have some sort of element about each of them. But this one I feel like is a very good fantasy, romance, gothic horror kind of deal. That's the vibe I got, at least. It does end on a cliffhanger, so fortunately the second book is out, so you don't have to wait too long. But it was very interesting, kind of following Elspeth, I don't know how to say her name, and like what happens with her in this whole like nightmare journey. Now I know in the second book like what the nightmare is and everything, so I give this 4 stars. I recommend it. If you're confused at first, it's okay. I was too. But it does end up being a very good read. And then like going back and looking at like a chapter summary and seeing if I really understood it, I was like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. But definitely check this one out. Okay, so you guys already know this next book I did a vlog for, okay? And I will link that up in the cards above. But I read Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton, and I absolutely had a wild ride. I did give this 4.75, and I rounded it up to 5 stars on Goodreads. On a story graph, you can obviously put quarter stars. But I said this book left me speechless. It had me hooked. It was just the right amount of spice, but it was definitely a wild ride. Sometimes the spice was at weird times. Like I talked in my vlog, I was like, okay, after something dramatic happens, the first thing I don't think about is going to bang somebody. I don't know about you, but anyways, this one you definitely want to check the content and trigger warnings for, because it is real dark, but none of it bothered me. I don't really get fazed by a lot of stuff. This book, I would say, towards the end, left me gasping for air because I needed to know what was going to happen next. And this was a book I actually did annotate, so I have lots of annotations in this one. And you'll just have to go check out my vlog to see what I thought about this book, because I had a wild time. Wild fun time. Then I had the audiobook for The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa Matlin become available through my library. So I hybrid read this one, and this one I gave a 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed this. I don't want to spoil anything because I think it does take away from the mysteriousness of the story, but I would say that what happens in this book was a really good portrayal of the thing I can't spoil. But I really enjoyed this one. There were some hints of horror as well. Nothing major. This isn't categorized as horror, but I really enjoyed this one, and I definitely think it's worth a read. I happened to check out this next book from the library because I saw it and I was like, what is this? Had a picture of a cat on it. It's called Starter Villain by John Scalzi. This one was a hilariously good time. I rated it 4 stars. It was so funny and so enjoyable. I loved all of the animals in the book, and I was just like, do not sleep on this book, because you have cats that run Airbnbs that are masterminds of these organizations. They're like villainous, like assistants to the villains, and it's just a crazy, wild, fun time, like a sci-fi type of book. I had a great time. It was my first book by this author, and I was just like super blown away by how good it was. So definitely recommend this one. Like I said, guys, I read a lot of good books in January. And then I also had another book from the library. I picked up The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and I gave this 5 stars. It was so freaking good. I think it was one of the best books that he's ever written, and one of the best mystery thrillers that I have ever read. This one is essentially following some like family drama. There's some plot twists. There's some like gothic horror feels to it. Overall, it just kept me guessing left and right, and I overall just had a really enjoyable time reading it. And I've read a lot of Riley Sager's other books, and I just feel like this one was by far his best book yet. I also had another book from the library. My sister wanted me to read The Cooworker by Frida McFadden with her. So this one I gave 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed the writing and the plot of this book. The end got a little crazy and kind of derailed for me, but one of the main characters she appears to be on the autism spectrum, and I feel like Frida just started throwing in these plot twists with this character that are very uncharacteristic of someone with autism. So I felt like it just didn't line up right, and I don't know if it was all like a sham, like this person really didn't have autism or what, but like I'm not trying to harp on that fact, but I just, as a psychologist, I kind of know like there's certain things that people would do and would not do, and I was like, this is kind of uncharacteristic and not believable. So that was the only thing that kind of knocked down the star rating for me a little bit. But it was a wild, fun ride. Not as wild as Does It Hurt, but I enjoyed reading it with my sister. I think she really enjoyed it as well. Actually, her coworker told her to read it, so it's kind of funny that it was just his name, The Coworker. Then I had a real fun time. I was in a very dark romance mood, and I read Butcher and Blackbird. This is a dark romantic comedy. 5 freaking stars. I absolutely love Sloane and Rowan. Their banter is so good, and what made this book even better was listening to the audio. This is by far some of the best audio that I've ever listened to. The duet narration is perfect. Like the laughs, the transitions, everything is amazing. There's a lot of content warnings in this book. Let me show you. I think I put this in my February TBR, but there is a whole page of content warnings here that you want to just make sure that you pay attention to, because it could ruin some things for you, like cookies and cream ice cream. There is some stuff with like different sorts of tools and very gory scenes, but it is labeled as a dark romantic comedy, which I have not really come across yet. So I'm very much looking forward to Leather and Lark, which is the next book coming out in this series, I believe this year. And then we have the 3rd book coming out sometime in 2025. So great friggin' book if you are looking for a dark romantic comedy. And finally, the last book that I read in the month of January was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I'm absolutely an H.D. Carlton stan. This one was very interesting. I did tab it some, but it didn't hit like I thought it would. I heard that it was a crazy time. I still gave it 4 stars, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it, but I felt like people have been talking about this book as being much darker than it actually was to me. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, check your content warnings. There's a lot of content warnings in this video because of the nature of the books that I've been reading. But what happened in this book wasn't like wild. Now, I hear in Hunting Adeline, the book back here, the 2nd book in the cat and mouse duet, is even crazier. So I am going to be reading that soon, hopefully at the start of March. We will see. But I'm here for another wild time, H.D. Carlton. I'm a girl for you. Like, I will eat anything that you put out, because yes, I hear Where's Molly's coming out. Yes, I am going to 100% eat that shit up. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me and watching today's video. It was a little bit longer, but I did read quite a few books. Let's see how many I read. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I read 15 books in the month of January 2024, which I would say that's a lot of books for me I probably average about 9 or 10, but I have been reading a lot more lately, and I'm here for it. Some of them are short, some of them are long, so I feel like it balanced out. But overall, it was a great reading month. So I'm looking forward to more good reading months throughout the rest of the year. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I appreciate you guys for clicking on today's video. I hope that you take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. I am super duper close to 1,000 subscribers, and I don't think I will have met my goal on my birthday, but it's okay. We're all good. I'll get there at some point. It's just numbers. But I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with me and being part of my channel in this amazing book community. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the next one. Bye! This one is simply phenomenal. This one is simply phenomenal. This one is simply phenomenal in my opinion. I absolutely love. Can't remember their names now.